Nike shoes. We all love them. Unfortunately, our very loved company Nike has been a victim of a massive cyber attack. In this video, we are dissecting one of the most significant corporate breaches, 1.4 terabytes of Nike's crown jewels stolen by WorldLeaks, a threat actor that's rewriting the ransomware playbook. We'll expose exactly how they infiltrated Nike's network, the sophisticated OVERSTEP Rootkit they deployed on SonicWall devices, and why your backup strategy is completely useless against this new breed of pure data extortion. You will learn the 4 confirmed attack vectors, see the actual C2 infrastructure used to exfiltrate around 200,000 files. By the end of this breakdown, you will understand why traditional ransomware defenses have become obsolete and what the 5 critical defense layers are that actually work against exfiltration-based attacks. Let's decode this hack. Let's talk about the timeline. Nike discovered the breach on January 22nd, 2026. They had 72 hours before everything changed. WorldLeaks set a ransom deadline for January 25th at 6 p.m. GMT. When that deadline passed without payment, they immediately published the entire 1.4 terabyte cache. No negotiation extensions, no second chances. This is standard WorldLeaks operating procedure. They run on a strict timeline to maximize pressure. What this timeline tells us is that WorldLeaks had been inside Nike's network for significantly longer, likely weeks or months before the January 22nd discovery. The exfiltration was already complete. The countdown was just theater to pressure payment. Let's analyze what was actually stolen. The breach compromised exactly 188,347 files, totaling 1.4 terabytes. But the real story is in the distribution. 45% was product R&D and design files. We are talking about technical packs, the detailed specification that tell factories exactly how to manufacture Nike products, bills of materials, construction methods, prototype designs, material specifications. These are the crown jewels of any manufacturing company. 25% was manufacturing and production data, factory audit reports, quality control procedures, production workflows, supplier information. This gives competitors insight into Nike's entire manufacturing operation. 18% was supply chain information, partner networks, logistics processes, vendor relationships. In a global supply chain business, this is strategic intelligence. 12% was strategic business documents, 5-year plans, market analysis, pricing strategy, partnership documentation, partnership agreements, the kind of information boards pay millions for in competitive intelligence. Here's what's critical. The data that has been leaked, 0 customer PII confirmed, no customer names, no credit card data, no personal information. This was never about consumer data. WorldLeaks specifically targeted corporate intellectual property. Why? Because this data is more valuable and more damaging. Customer data can be remediated with credit monitoring, but once your product specifications are public, counterfeiters can replicate your quality. Once your pricing strategy is known, competitors can undercut you. This is permanent competitive damage. Now let's meet WorldLeaks, the threat actor behind Nike breach. They emerged in January 2025 as a strategic rebranding of Hunters International, which operated from late 2023 through mid 2024. Hunters International themselves may have been connections to Hive ransomware, which was dismantled by law enforcement in January 2023. When one ransomware operation get shut down, experienced operators don't retire. They rebrand and adapt. In November 2024, Hunters International administrator told their affiliates they were shutting down because ransomware had become too risky and unprofitable. If you translate that, they meant law enforcement pressure was increasing and victims weren't paying ransoms anymore. So on January 1st, 2025, WorldLeaks launched with a fundamental change. No more encryption, pure data extraction, steal data, threaten to publish, demand payment. They operate as extortion-as-a-service, providing tools and infrastructure to affiliates. Since January 2025, they have claimed 116 plus victims across multiple sectors. The Nike breach is one of their largest, but they have hit Dell, UBS, L3 Harris, the defense contractors, and many others. This evolution from Hive to Hunters International to WorldLeaks show how resilient these criminal operators are. They adapt faster than law enforcement and security vendors can respond. When encryption stopped working, they pivoted exfiltration. That's what we are up against. Let's break down the fundamental difference between traditional ransomware and WorldLeaks' pure extortion model. Traditional ransomware followed this pattern: infiltrate the network, encrypt files, demand payment for the decryption key. Your defense. And what is your defense? Robust backups. If you could restore from backups, you didn't need to pay. Many organizations successfully recovered without paying ransoms, which is why the payments rate for these ransoms have declined. Now, WorldLeaks model: infiltrate, exfiltrate data, threaten to publish, demand payment. Did you notice what's missing? No encryption. They don't touch your files. Your systems keep running. But here's the problem: backups are useless. You can't restore confidentiality. Once data is stolen, you can't undo that. This is why the shift is so significant. For 15 years, security teams build their ransomware defenses around backup strategies, disaster recovery, and business continuity. Those defenses don't work against pure extortion attacks. From the attacker's perspective, this model is superior in every way. It's faster, no time wasted encrypting terabytes of data. It's stealthier, encryption triggers alerts, but slow data exfiltration can blend with normal traffic. It's much more reliable. No need to maintain decryption infrastructure or worry if your crypto implementation has bugs. For defenders, this requires a complete paradigm shift. You can't focus on recovery anymore. You must prevent the theft in the first place, which means detecting and stopping exfiltration becomes your complete priority. And that's a much harder problem. This is how they scale. WorldLeaks isn't just a group, it's a platform. They operate extortion as a service with a sophisticated 4-platform infrastructure. First, the data leak site. This is where they publish stolen files when victims don't pay. It's publicly accessible on the dark web, serving as both their reputation builder and their primary leverage tool. Second, the negotiation portal. Victims get private access to a chat system where they can communicate with WorldLeaks operators in real time. This is where ransom amounts are discussed and payment instructions are provided. Third, and this is innovative, the journalist insider platform. WorldLeaks give journalists and media outlets 24-hour advance access to stolen data before public release. Why? To amplify pressure. When media starts reporting on leaked data before it even goes fully public, it creates immediate reputational damage and forces executives to act fast. Fourth, the affiliate management panel. This is where they recruit and coordinate the actual attackers. WorldLeaks provides the tools, infrastructure, and leak site. Affiliates perform the breaches and get a cut of any ransom paid. They have also partnered with SecPO ransomware group to share the leak site infrastructure, suggesting WorldLeaks is positioning themselves as the backbone for multiple extortion operations. This isn't crew of hackers. This is industrialized cybercrime with professional infrastructure, business development, and partnership strategies. They are running this like a SaaS company. So how did WorldLeaks actually get into Nike's network? Nike hasn't disclosed the exact entry vector, which is the standard practice during active investigations. But based on WorldLeaks' known tactics, we can assess the most likely attack vector. First, compromised credentials. These could have been purchased from the dark web markets, harvested through previous phishing campaigns, or extracted from infostealer malware infections. Credential marketplaces are thriving, and a single set of valid VPN credentials can cost as little as $10. Second, VPN exploitation. WorldLeaks affiliates have demonstrated sophisticated capabilities exploiting CVE vulnerabilities in VPN appliances, particularly SonicWall devices. We'll deep dive into their OVERSTEP Rootkit shortly, but VPN exploitation is a confirmed tactic. Third, phishing campaigns. Despite security awareness training, phishing phishing remains effective. A well-crafted spear phishing email targeting Nike employees with access to sensitive systems could provide that initial access. Fourth, unpatched edge devices. Many organizations focus security on endpoints and servers, but neglect edge infrastructure, load balancers, VPN concentrators, network appliances. These devices often run for years without patches and have direct access to internal networks. The fact that we are seeing multiple possible vectors highlights a critical point. Attackers only need one way in, but defenders must secure every possible entry point. This asymmetry is why breaches continue despite massive security investments. Now let's get technical. Meet OVERSTEP, the sophisticated rootkit that WorldLeaks used to compromise and maintain persistent access to network infrastructure. OVERSTEP is a user mode rootkit written in C, specifically designed to target SonicWall SMA 100 series appliances. These are SSL VPN devices that provide remote access to corporate networks. Compromising these devices gives attackers a foothold with legitimate appearing VPN connections. Google's threat intelligence group identified and tracked this rootkit in mid-2025. OVERSTEP has four primary capabilities. First, credential theft. It steals passwords and OTP seeds those time-based one-time password secrets used for two-factor authentication. With OTP seeds, attacker can generate valid 2FA codes indefinitely. Second, persistent access. OVERSTEP modifies the boot process to survive firmware updates and device reboots. Most security tools can't detect it because it hides itself at a level below normal system visibility. Third, log detection. It selectively removes its own traces from system logs, making the forensic investigation extremely difficult. Security teams looking at the logs won't see the compromise. Fourth, reverse shell capability. Attackers can execute commands remotely on a compromised device, pivot into the internal network, and establish additional footholds. This isn't script kiddie malware. This is advanced persistent threat tooling. Let's break down exactly how OVERSTEP achieves persistence. This is advanced malware engineering, and understanding it is crucial for defenders. Stage 1. System boot. When the SonicWall appliance powers on, it follows a normal Linux boot sequence. Nothing suspicious yet. Stage 2. initrd.gz loads. The initial RAM disk is a compressed file system that loads into memory before the actual root file system mounts. OVERSTEP attackers modify the RCFW boot script, the boot script that controls firmware loading, to inject malicious code into this initrd image during boot. Specifically, they decompress initrd.gz, mount it as a loop device, copy their malicious library file into the userlib directory, and then recompress everything. This modification happens automatically every boot through the modified boot script. Stage 3. Preload executes. This is a Linux mechanism that forces shared libraries to be loaded into every process that starts. It's called preloading because it happens before normal library loading happens. Stage 4. All processes infected. Now, every time any process starts on the appliance, web server, SSH daemon, any system service, the OVERSTEP rootkit loads first. It hooks system calls, hides its files, steals credentials from memory, and conceals its network connections. The genius here is persistence. Even if an administrator updates the firmware, the modified boot process re-injects OVERSTEP every time. The only way to clean this is complete device re-imaging or replace. Once WorldLeaks gained access, the real operation began, exfiltrating 1.4 terabytes of data without triggering alerts. This took weeks, possibly months. The scale is important to understand. 1.4 terabytes equal almost 188,000 files. That's not something you can download in an afternoon. Over a typical corporate internet connection, even a fast one, moving that volume takes sustained transfer over weeks. The method was SSL VPN session. By compromising the VPN infrastructure, attackers could establish connections that appeared completely legitimate to monitoring systems. VPN traffic is encrypted end-to-end, so data loss prevention systems couldn't inspect the content. Security teams saw what looked like normal remote access. We have confirmation of command and control infrastructure. Google's threat intelligence group identified C2 IP addresses, 64.5 .52.80.80 as being used during this time frame. The estimated time frame is multiple weeks spanning January through February 2026. The January 22nd discovery likely occurred after exfiltration was substantially complete. This is consistent with WorldLeaks model. They extract everything first. They announce their presence to initiate the extortion. Detection was minimal. This highlights a critical security challenge, distinguishing malicious data exfiltration from legitimate large transfers. An employee backing up files to cloud storage looks similar to an attacker exfiltrating data. Both use encrypted channels. Both transfer large volumes. This is why egress monitoring needs behavioral baseline and anomaly detection, not just volume threshold. The impact of this breach extends far beyond the immediate data loss. We are looking at two primary threat categories: competitive intelligence exposure and the counterfeiting acceleration. First, competitive intelligence. Nike's competitors now have access to their strategic playbooks, pricing strategies that took months of market analysis, 5-year product roadmaps showing where Nike plans to focus R&D investments, market positioning documents revealing how Nike views the competitive landscape. Second, and potentially more damaging, the counterfeiting acceleration. Nike has been fighting counterfeit products for decades. The quality gap between authentic Nike products and fakes has been Nike's key defense, and consumers could easily tell that difference. But now counterfeiters have access to authentic technical packs, bill of materials, and manufacturing specifications. They can see exactly which materials Nike uses, how products are constructed, what quality control standards apply. Industry analysts estimate this could improve counterfeit quality by 20 to 30%. This is what we call value chain extortion, targeting the competitive advantage and brand equity, not just customer data. For Nike, at this moment in their business cycle, this is arguably more damaging than a consumer data breach would have been. Nike isn't alone. Since January 2025, WorldLeaks has claimed over 116 victims, and the pattern reveals their strategic targeting. Dell Technologies, July 2025, 1.3 terabytes stolen from their customer solutions center. UBS via Chain IQ supply chain vendor breach, June 2025. L3 Harris Technologies, August 2025, a US defense contractor. The sectoral distribution shows deliberate targeting: sportswear, technology, financial services, defense industries. These are high-value organizations with sensitive intellectual property and strategic data. The campaign status is ongoing. WorldLeaks isn't slowing down. They are actively recruiting affiliates, expanding infrastructure, and refining their extortion tactics. For security professionals, this isn't a one-off incident to learn from. This is the new normal. Pure data extortion is here. It's effective and it's proliferating. Now, if you are responsible for SonicWall infrastructure or concerned about OVERSTEP Rootkit infections, here are the specific indicator of compromise you need to hunt for. File system artifacts. First, check for presence of ld.so.preload with actual content. On a clean SonicWall SMA appliance, this file either doesn't exist or is empty. If it contains the path to a shared library, that's an immediate red flag. Second, look for suspicious files in CF directory. These are OVERSTEP payload files. Third, examine user lib directory. This is the malicious library that gets preloaded into every process. Modified boot scripts. Compare your boot files against a known good baseline. OVERSTEP modifies the boot current firmware function to inject code during boot sequence. You should see unauthorized modifications if compromised. Network indicators. Monitor for connections to these confirmed C2 IP addresses. 193.149.180.50 was used as VPN session source for compromise between May and June 2025. 64.52.8080 was the reverse shell IP used February through June 2025. 193.149.176.230 was identified by SonicWall as triggering OVERSTEP in July 2025. Google Threat Intelligence Group has published YARA rules for signature-based detections. The SHA-256 hash for the OVERSTEP sample is available in their public report. One critical note: because OVERSTEP includes anti-forensics capabilities, you need disk-level imaging for proper forensic analysis. Live system inspection may miss indicators because the rootkit hides itself. So how do we defend defend against work leaks and pure extortion attacks? The answer requires defense in depth with 5 critical layers. Layer 1, MFA and credential rotation. This is your outermost defense. Implement mandatory multi-factor authentication on all remote access points. But here's the critical part. Rotate all credentials and OTP seeds. Remember, Overstep steals OTP seeds. If your MFA secret is compromised, attackers can generate valid 2FA codes. Full credential and secret rotation is mandatory after any suspected compromise. Layer 2, edge device hardening. Replace end-of-life devices immediately. Many organizations run VPN appliances and network equipment years past vendor support end date. These devices become unpatched vulnerability repositories. If a device is end-of-life, budget for a replacement now. Layer 3, network segmentation. Isolate sensitive data repositories from general corporate networks. Even if attackers breach your perimeter, segmentation limits lateral movement and reduces the blast radius. Layer 4, DLP and exfiltration detection. This is where you detect the actual data theft. Monitor egress traffic for unusual volumes, destinations, and patterns. Establish behavioral baselines so you can identify anomalies. Configure alerts on sustained large data transfers to external IPs. Layer 5, data minimization. Reduce your attack surface by questioning what data you actually need to retain. Old strategic documents, completed project files, historical R&D specifications. If it's not actively used, consider secure deletion. Data that doesn't exist can't be stolen. Critical reminder, backups do not protect against data exposure. They help you recover from encryption, but they cannot restore confidentiality. The defense paradigm has shifted from recovery to prevention. So let's close with 3 critical takeaways from the WorldLeaks Nike breach that every security professionals need to internalize. First, threat evolution. The shift from encryption to exfiltration isn't a temporary tactic. This is the new normal. Second, traditional defenses are insufficient. For 15 years, we have built ransomware response around backups and recovery. Those strategies doesn't work when the threat is data exposure, not data encryption. Backups cannot prevent publication. Your disaster recovery plan is irrelevant if the disaster is reputational damage from leaked intellectual property. Third, the new imperative is proactive data protection. The defensive playbooks must fundamentally change. Assume breach because perimeter security will fail eventually. Detect exfiltration because stopping data theft in progress is your last line of defense. And minimize blast radius through segmentation, data minimization, and zero trust architecture. The principle going forward: assume breach, detect exfiltration, minimize blast radius. This is the framework for pure extortion era. WorldLeaks isn't going away. They have proven the model works. They are recruiting affiliates and they are expanding infrastructure. The 116 plus victims since January 2025 represent just the beginning. For security professionals, the message is clear. Adapt or get breached. The tools and tactics that worked against Locky and WannaCry don't work against WorldLeaks. It's time to evolve our defenses to match the threat. That's it for now. Thank you for watching Decode the Hacks. If you found this video educational, please do take a moment to subscribe to this channel and hit that like and hype button on YouTube so that this video reaches the majority of people like yourself who take cybersecurity very seriously. Thanks again and stay safe.